I watched Stumptown when it came out. I was recording it last year. It's quite good.
I think it has like a rocky start, which is why I kind of kept starting it and stopping it.
Okay.
And then it really kind of finds its ground when all the stuff starts exploding around her and stuff like that. But you're saying it's not renewed for sure?
Yeah, no. So what happened was it was renewed for season 2, and then COVID hit, and they were like, we don't know how we're going to be able to film some of these shows, so they end up just axing it. They're like, we're not going to be able to get everybody together to do it. We're only going to be able to dedicate a certain amount of production for a certain amount of shows, and so Stumptown got the axe. Even though it was renewed, they said we're going to they cut it after. So yeah, too bad, because it is quite good, and I'm hoping that it'll find a bit more of an appeal for people online on Star in Canada. So
yeah,
hey, everybody,
what's up, folks? Welcome to the Heroes World Podcast presents the Sidekick Show. This is Rob Gaudet over. Damn it, the damn mirroring over there.
And that's John Ho. I can't get my finger right, and I have to like bend my arm at an awkward angle. That's John Ho over there.
Weirdo.
Shut up. Hey, John. Before we start, can I just say something? I'm drinking out of my Wonder Woman
tumbler
mug. It is because today is International Day. Well, it's a pint glass. It's the International Day. Shut up. I'm trying to say nice things. It's the International Day of the Women. So, and commemorate that, I've got my Wonder Woman and happy International Women's Day to all of our female participants and people who like to join. So, thank you very much. And thanks for being you. Not you, John. Everybody else.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody else, not me. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. I see a bunch of people in the chat already. I see Scott. I don't know if he's in there or not. Fraser, Lewis, Sarah's in the house. Gordon, what's up? I think, got a bunch of regulars. Anyone new to the show, thanks for joining us. Definitely get at us in the comments if you're watching on the Twitch or the Facebook. The most active chat is on the YouTube. So if you want to join the YouTube and switch over, you'll see everybody else's kind of like chats popping up. So what do we mofos? Sarah just called us a bunch of mofos. That's funny. I saw Joey on the weekend. She saw my hair and she called me My Chemical Romance, and I was like, okay, this is gotta get.
You're like, hello, 2003. Yeah, hi, hey, it's John. How's it going? Oh, a mofo as well. Yes, all right.
Oh my god! All right, so what? I guess I don't have much.
It's a big day.
It's a big day for Rob. Yes. It's a big day for Rob.
Yeah, listen. If you are new to the show, as John said, thanks for joining. Listen, what we do is John runs down what's new in the Heroes World store. We do a little bit of news, and then in today's episode, we are on the countdown to the Snyder release of Justice League. So today we are reviewing Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition. If you only got to watch the regular edition, that's okay. We're going to explain the differences. But thanks for joining. And if you're not new, then hopefully you've done your homework. I know Sarah has. And then Gordon by osmosis. So, John, what's new in stores?
Okay, so I decided to just bring up one title. It's actually coming out next week on is it next week? Yeah, next week. March 16th, the week before. Is that the week right before Snyder Cut drops?
It's 2 days.
Yeah, it's before. But it's Justice League issue 59 is going to drop. Yeah, if I had a calendar in front of me, I should actually put a calendar somewhere here. I got so much room here. But yeah, Justice League 59 is actually going to feature a whole bunch of Snyder Cut covers. So I pulled those images. Sweet. I just wanted to show them off. So they have covers by Jim Lee, Lee Bergamo, or is it Bergamo? Bermejo?
I don't think it's Bergamo. I think you're thinking of Kokomo from the Beach Boys. I think you got
Kokomo.
it wrong.
Man, hey, yes. if you know Kokomo from watching Full House, definitely hit that like button. There's my exposure to the Beach Boys and Liam Sharp. So let me show off the covers.
Yeah.
So this is the Jim Lee cover.
Sweet, little Martian Manhunter. He kind of like spoiled it.
Yeah. Well,
right.
So Martian Manhunter is supposedly one of the new characters that's going to show up. That was not in the previous cut. And then this is Lee Benjermo. I'm pretty sure it's Benjermo. So that's Superman black costume. Got a nice dark side behind him, and Flash, Rob's favorite. And then this is the Liam Sharp, which got Cyborg, Batman, and Steppenwolf. Right?
Wait, sorry. What is it? Steppenwolf. No, not Stephen. Not
Stephen. I like
Wolf.
Steve Wolf.
Yeah, Stephen Wolf is from Sweden. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have black and white versions of the covers, which are really cool. So pretty excited to see this happen, and hopefully people dig it. We did have the Wonder Woman 84 covers. Fortunately, the movie didn't do so well, and we were locked down. We were locked down at that time, so people might have scooped them up anyways. So it's going to be interesting now that we are actually technically open to see if people just kind of grab these off the shelf. And this is the debut of Brian Michael Bendis on Justice League with artist David Marquez from the Miles Morales book. Sorry, I butchered just everybody's last name. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if and we'll also see how many people I call Scott today. So I don't know if I should just get it over with and do it, but we'll see how many times it pops up today. But that was it. I just wanted to show that off, and I thought that was pretty cool. That's my short. Yeah, that's my short. There's a bunch of other new releases, but that was the cool one that I thought was related to our topic.
Oh, that's awesome. So I don't really have much in the way of news, John, because I think we really want to dedicate a lot of the show today to rewatching and discussing Batman v Superman. But I do have some tidbits. It's kind of on brand for today's show. A couple weeks ago on the main podcast, we reviewed Superman and Lois, the new CW show that's on CTV Sci-Fi, I guess, or it used to be called CTV Space. Anyway, you can go back. I think it was 2 weeks ago we reviewed it. They are on episode 2. Episode 3 drops tomorrow. They're taking a hiatus after episode 4 for almost a month and a half. It doesn't come back on to the end of May. And the reason being is that was when COVID shut everything down in production-wise in Vancouver. So they have shut down or did shut down. In its place will be the season premiere of the final season of Supergirl. Superman and Lois will return. If you're a fan, if you're watching it and you're wondering what the hell's going on mid-April, the show's not back yet. It's coming back at the end of May to finish off its 11 run, the remaining 11 episodes. And as we discussed last week, it's been renewed for season 2. There's something I wanted to take us with a grain of salt. It made a little bit of news this later half of last week, and then it kind of just fizzled out. But there's a fairly decent rumor that Marvel is developing a new project to reboot the X-Men. Obviously, that didn't happen during WandaVision. If you have seen episode 9, you'll understand what we're referring to. But this new X-Men project is simply going to be called, so far, just The Mutants. So it's in very early stages of development. There's no writer, there's no director, there's obviously no casting whatsoever. But this is the rumor, and it started to make a little bit of a snowball about Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll see. I mean, that is potential.
Just the Mutants or The Mutants?
Okay.
Is there no difference? I'm just wondering.
Wait, you're asking me if there's a difference between the and the?
Yeah, like when you pronounce the title. Like what sounds cooler?
Oh, you're asking what sounds cooler because they both mean the same thing.
It's not like the or the, like, it has different impact.
Well, I think The Mutants is probably better than The Mutants, don't you?
What if you just dropped it and it was just Mutants?
Just called Mutants.
Yeah, I think that would be all right.
Just Mutants.
They really want to sell this, I guess, the mutant concept. I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want men in the title. I don't know.
Maybe. Hey, good point. Yeah, maybe they're trying to be more inclusive of everybody by just being called mutants. The Mutants. I don't know. The X-Mutants. I have no idea. At any rate, you know what happened earlier today, about 3 or 4 hours ago, John, is that in the U.S., some people sat down with their kids after a long day of school and work, and they went to watch Tom and Jerry because the new Tom and Jerry movie is on HBO Max in the U.S. And they sat down and they pressed play on Tom and Jerry. And what instead they got were the first 10 minutes of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Somebody made a bit of a boo-boo and uploaded the 4-hour Justice League to HBO Max. They caught it and pulled it down and have removed all traces of it. But for that,
how badly do you want to see that 10 minutes, Rob? Are you like scouring the internet? Were you let me get on it? No, it's gone.
Why do I have Tom and Jerry? I don't want to watch Tom and Jerry. So yeah, that just happened this afternoon. I thought it was kind of funny. And just speaking of Batman vs Superman, because we're talking about it tonight, John, there is a remastered and restored 4K version of this movie, the Ultimate Edition, that's going to actually also come out on HBO Max for our US friends next Thursday, the 18th. and it's going to be released on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, which is a mouthful, on March the 23rd. And if you're asking what the difference is, they've restored some of the picture. They made it a little bit brighter, I think, and they've also restored the IMAX aspect ratio for this release because Snyder had filmed a lot of it that he wanted to be able to show in IMAX. So if you are a Puritan and you have a 4K player and a 4K television, then Puritan? By all means, Puritan. Yeah.
Okay.
by all means, please, you're able to go out on the 23rd and pick up this new version of the movie that we're all talking about tonight. And that, John, is the news.
When are you picking it up, Rob? When are you picking up?
I actually don't have a 4K player.
Ooh.
You know, because I don't understand why it's like $250 or $300. What the hell for? I can just download like off of iTunes the 4K version because I have a 4K Apple TV. So it doesn't. Why do I need a 4K player for? And then the movies are like 30 something bucks as well. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
I feel like the completist and you must own this copy.
Well, okay, so it's funny you mentioned that because
he's gonna check his collection check, folks.
No, but I do have one of those
TikTok videos. Collection check.
I do have the 3D version.
Oh my god, you nerd! you have that in addition to the other copy that you held up last time. Do you not?
Well, that was this one. It was the
okay.
Yeah, but it's a 3D. It's a Blu-ray and the digital HD copy. So I've got them all. So shut up.
Oh man. Okay, I guess is that it for the news? Did anything else happen?
That's it for the news.
Or
no,
that you want to cover?
Nothing that is of interest to anybody else. I'm just out of curiosity. McFarlane has released some images of the new Justice League line of figures, and you and I was sending messages to you this afternoon. And Whedon on it for making the way up north of the.
No, unfortunately, toy distribution is very weird now. There's a lot of exclusives, Walmart, Target, GameStops, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't heard anything, but sometimes I don't know until the week of it's coming out. So I do hope I'm getting them. I was going to show them off, but I don't like the pictures that they released yet because they were not very flattering, and I think sometimes these figures are just not taken properly or whatever. So McFarlane has been doing a good job with a lot of his other stuff. A lot of articulation, excellent price point. You're getting a Wicked figure that is normally around the $30 more range for about $25. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. And I think once you have like, if you dig this movie, like if you're into this movie, if you have the whole set and stuff like that, that's going to be kind of fun.
I don't waste money, Sarah. I invest.
You invest. Blu-rays are going to become a rarity now.
So did I ever tell you the story what happened with my 3D TV? So when we moved to this house, it was the one thing I said to my wife. I said, when we bought the house, I sold the other one. I said, I want a bigger TV for the basement. We went 60-inch at the time. This is about 7 years ago. And I bought a 3D player and I bought a 3D Blu-ray player plus a 3D television. It's a plasma. I don't really have many windows in my basement, so it's perfect. And literally 6 days after I bought this damn television and had it all up and I was all excited, they broke the news that they were discontinuing making 3D televisions. and so there's not many 3D movies out there anymore, but of the ones I do have, man, they look amazing.
So some of them can make it up, right? Some of them like will have a 3D feature and it'll just turn on, right?
Well, what happened was a lot of them did. So some movies were actually filmed for 3D. So, for instance, Dread, it was filmed in 3D. Same with that Sandra Bullock movie Gravity. It was filmed for 3D, but some of the other ones had post conversions done to them to make them to be 3D, and you can definitely tell the difference. But I will say it's quite a lot of fun being able to sit there and watch some of these movies in 3D.
3D is not really my bag. I wear corrective lenses. I'm wearing contact lenses right now, but when you have to wear those 3D glasses and the glare, it's what screws up my eyes. So I remember I did watch this Batman versus Superman movie originally in 3D and I hated it. So the only 3D movies I can think of that I liked were Gemini Man, which kind of sucks because it's not the most stellar movie, but the way they shot it was like, it was, I was like, damn, this is unreal. And it actually, you know, the movie theater where the seats move and stuff like that.
The D box.
Yeah, they actually had programmed those seats. So like when you were like looking over something, it went over, or when you were in a boat, you were actually rocking. So that was pretty cool. And I did see the Terminator 2. I don't know if you saw those. Yeah, yeah, but I did see the Terminator 2 remake that was remade into 3D for the theaters. Yeah, which was such a stripped back 3D. Basically, all they did was bring the foreground forward and drop. Yeah,
I saw that back as well. Yeah,
and it was actually really cool. So if they did that to movies, I'd definitely be down. The only time that I've ever wanted to buy a 3D TV is one of the Mortal Kombats came out and it had a 3D feature where sometimes things would fly off. Like if you were Kung Lao and you threw your hat, it would actually bounce off a guy and fly off the screen. And I was like, it'd be pretty cool to play this, but what a stupid reason to buy a 3D TV if I ever did that. So I never got into it. Like I always make fun of Rob about his aspect ratios and stuff. I'm kind of out of the tech game now, so it doesn't really matter to me. But it's cool that they're making this stuff for you to geek out with.
I would. Yeah, listen, there's a lot of movies I really enjoy watching, like Dread in 3D. I love watching Dread in 3D. It's amazing. And there's a lot, like even this Batman v Superman. Now, it's only the theatrical cut is in 3D, not the Ultimate Edition. Whatever. It's fun to watch, but there are listen, whether you like or hate the movie Gravity, it's gorgeous looking, but in 3D it's stellar. So I enjoy it. I just wish that they made
some of those 3D movies. I never saw Avatar. The first 3D movie I ever saw was Conan with Jason Momoa. And that
my God, you watched the worst movies.
And then I followed it up with one of the Underworld movies.
Again, what is wrong with you?
It's the worst. My buddy wanted to see it, and I listened to it. It's actually with the same buddy twice. So I maybe I don't go with movies with him
as a friend. Just cut him out completely. The only thing I don't like about my 3D is that I have the non-passive glasses, which mean I need to have it has to be battery powered. And sometimes those batteries, if you don't turn off that button, man, they drain pretty quick. So that's the only thing. And then I feel bad taking the battery stock from shoppers when the old people are looking for their hearing aids, and I'm like scooping them all up for my 3D glasses. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight, John. We're here to talk about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition.
The Ultimate Edition, Martha Edition. Is it Martha Edition?
I'm going to say it right off the bat, okay? Before we start, I've been reading comics for a fairly long time. I'll be 45 next month. It honestly. And I was a bit of a Marvel zombie a little bit growing up, but I was a big DC fan. I never realized both of their mothers were named Martha until this damn movie came out. It was as if the equivalent of getting hit in the face with a frying pan when he said, "Why are you saying that name?" And I was like, "Holy shit, their moms are the same name."
Yeah, for me too. I thought it was pretty clever, but we'll get to that later. So let's start with the easy stuff first. We are talking Superman v Batman, Dawn of Justice. The extended cut we did watch. So we're gonna tell you the differences if you only were able to watch the regular cut. So hit us in the comments if you watched the extended cut or you watched the regular cut. Just curious to know which versions you guys saw. So it was released back in March 25th, 2016. So we're actually coming up on the anniversary, and then this extended cut was released later on digitally, June 28th, 2016. So not too far off. They kind of like popped this out pretty quickly. And then the original budget was around 250 to 300 million, and then the box office was about 873.6 million. So it made money, but I guess maybe not as much as they wanted to. And I'm just going to go over the main cast, so we know which players are on the board. So we had Ben Affleck debut as Batman, right? Henry Cavill returning as Superman. Amy Adams reprising her role as Lois Lane. Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor, a new Lex Luthor for the first time, and we'll get to him. Diane Lane reprising her role as Martha Kent. Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. Jeremy Irons as Alfred, and we definitely got to talk about Alfred in this. Holly Hunter as she's like some type of a politician or senator, and then Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I don't know why it slipped my mind for a second. Who's Gal Gadot in this movie? Oh, it's Wonder Woman. Okay, and Netflix. Last time we found a nice one sentence description This one not quite as clever. It's actually several sentences, and I completely understand why they had issues condensing this into a single sentence.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read it off, and let's decide if it was a good description, if it would make you click this Netflix title when it was on Netflix. I don't believe it's currently on Netflix right now, unless you're in the UK or something like that. So the recap or the Netflix short description is: it's the Man of Steel versus the Cape Crusader. When Batman becomes suspicious of Superman's increasing power and Lex Luthor is happy to take advantage. End sentence. An epic clash of DC Universe pits two legends against each other, period. Gotham City and Metropolis will never be the same. So it's kind of funny that they needed to break this up into 3 sentences. But given the content, I'm not surprised at all that they had to kind of throw this together. So let's get into it. Do we want to try and do a kind of recap as we kind of talk about the movie this time, Rob? Or
yeah, we can do that.
Want to attempt to recap it and then talk about scenes?
Well, I guess we can. Do you want to? I don't care. It's 6 1
Let's try and go in order. Yeah,
yeah.
If we go in order, then kind of the people who have watched it at home can kind of know when we're going to talk about a certain thing. Unfortunately, I might not remember everything that happened in order. So let's open up. We get the opening scene is Batman's origin again.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I actually like it visually. This is okay. It's so hard where to start off on this. Let me just say this, John, as a preamble, is that this movie is tonally different than what Man of Steel is.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk overall, I guess, about feel of the movie since Rob's going into it. So you go first. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to preamble because I think it's important that stylistically, this is very much, especially this opening scene, is very much akin to Snyder's Watchmen, even his 300, which is not. He didn't use the same tricks in Man of Steel. He didn't use a slow mo. He didn't use the tilting of the cam. He didn't play around with color too much in his focus shots. So the reason I'm saying is that it's so bizarre the choices that he made in this movie to make it so different than what we got in Man of Steel. So that's my preamble. I actually like the opening. I know everybody's like, holy shit, we know Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered. Yeah, we get it. But you always have to listen, it wasn't like we were getting a full rehash of his origin. It was only, maybe 2 minutes. It was kind of told through a dream sequence.
I think it was 10 minutes, dude.
But don't you think it was gorgeous talking?
Zack Snyder knows how to shoot a slow motion sequence, especially when the slide of the gun pops the pearls. And he just shoots Martha Wayne in the face, which seems kind of graphic. Yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. So if this was the first 10 minutes that popped up, and when people were trying to watch Tom and Jerry, I feel like that would be bad for the younger kids. Even in general, if you brought your kids to this movie, Superman, Batman, there's a lot of this is definitely not for kids. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the way it looked. That scene with the pearls is very reminiscent. It's right the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel that this is very loosely takes from. I gotta say though, the kid falling down and discovering the Bat Cave, and then the swirl of bats. I feel like it was Andre said to me when he went and saw that, he almost lost his mind thinking that the bats were lifting young Bruce Wayne out of the cave.
Yeah. If you go back, I'll link it in the description of this one. But we actually do an old school Heroes World podcast. So 4 years ago, we actually got together, me, Andre, and a couple other special guests, Will and Mike, and Stu got together and talked about this movie. And yeah, both of our criticisms was Andre was like, as soon as he thought Batman was flying, being levitated by bats, he was like, we're gonna bounce. And me and my buddy were like, okay, we can get up and leave now. But it was pretty funny. As a preamble, just because you're gonna kind of get hints of it, I'll pop up Sarah's comment quick here, and she says the recap, it sucked. Moving on. I don't know if we should move back to our 80s bracket now. This film is a mess, Rob. So we're gonna talk about it, folks. So you feel free to express
Wow.
both sides of your opinions, folks, because this movie is so messy. So we'll get into it as we kind of go along with it. So we're treated to Batman Origins again at the beginning, and then we're taken into Batman dealing with the events of Superman, Man of Steel, which is his Wayne Towers falling. He pops into the obviously corporate sponsored vehicle because he didn't have a fancy sports car, but it did look good. It was a good kind of rush in. He made a really let's talk a little bit about Affleck now, and then we'll bring it up again later. But how does everyone feel about at least Ben Affleck's Batman? Because at the time this movie was released, the movie was considered messy, and a lot of people felt that Batman stole the show, and they were saying that Ben Affleck, the person that they thought was going to be the worst Batman, has turned out to be potentially the best Batman. We'll see what happens in Justice League when we get to that movie. But are you generally happy with Ben Affleck?
Yeah, I really enjoyed his portrayal. I thought he actually did a really good job of portraying both Bruce Wayne and Batman. The scene where he is he's gone to Lex's party and he acts all drunk because that girl's kind of caught him, and he's like, "Hey, like those shoes." Like it was just kind of funny to me. So I actually kind of liked. He had a bit of a swagger to him. I like the scene when he's running into Metropolis, and as you said, it lines up with what's happening in Man of Steel. Somebody actually did a cut. You can go on YouTube, and they actually did a cut of when Zod is in that building and the heat vision is blowing off. They actually mimicked exactly it coming out of the building, and that you're looking at it from Bruce Wayne's vantage point on the ground. It is actually pretty cool what they did with it. Here's what I'm going to say though about that scene and where I wish it had gone. I wish, first of all, that they didn't make Ben Affleck essentially a late 40s or early 50-year-old Batman. I don't see why they need to put the fake gray in the side of his hair like he was Reed Richards. I actually would. I love the fact that he was looking up and he was so mad, like it was mission. I almost kind of wish that, for me, that Batman hadn't been Batman until that point. He was the guy that you see in the origin with the black ski mask doing these things. And I wish that this was the impetus. Like, I'm okay if you're going to rewrite some stuff, that this was the impetus of him to say, I'm going to become Batman. I have to be a figure to be able to defeat another costume freak type thing, right? Like, I'm not saying his motivation for fighting crime was always the death of his parents, and he could have done that under a different, with the ski mask and that you've seen in a lot of things beforehand. But I would have loved this to have been the catalyst for him becoming the actual figure of Batman.
I actually kind of liked that he was just already. It looked like he was a veteran Batman, kind of.
Of course,
towards the end of his career. But I think you're right. I don't think they needed to kind of make him older. And kind of
he doesn't look that much older. He doesn't look that much older than Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
like
he looked good. Do we know who is taller? Because Ben Affleck is a tall guy as far as.
So it's funny. So actually, in that scene again, when you go back to when they first meet at the party, he is a bit taller than Henry Cavill, and then later on in the scene when Superman confronts Batman. And he lifts off the top of the doors of the Batmobile. He's taller than Batman. He's standing on the hood. Batman's still sunken into where the seat is. So there was a bit of a role reversal there. But I think he's taller than Henry Cavill by a couple of inches. Yeah.
Yeah, because he looks huge when we get to the Batman the main event, which we'll get to. So then what happens after this point? I think we get does Superman start to appear now? Do we get a first?
Well, so right after Superman? It's 18 months later, and this is where we start off in Africa, and we see Lois Lane arriving to the purpose of interviewing a dictator in one of the African countries.
Yeah, so this is one of the extended scenes, right?
This is a lot. So the extended edition has an extra 30 minutes. A lot of it was dedicated to this opening scene. Yeah.
So originally the guys go in and they just shoot a bunch of people, and Superman comes in and saves Lois, and then they're like, Superman is framed for the killing of all these guys because Superman runs in with a bunch of guns and just shoots everybody. So now they have blow torches and all that kind of stuff, and we're introduced to the top henchman for Lex Luthor, who is technically KGB. Yeah, which is not an accurate portrayal at all. But no. he did make a, like, if you're talking about evil looking henchman, he definitely fit the part. I don't remember what that actor's name is, and maybe we'll talk about him again. Talk to him. Maybe we can call him up. But we'll talk about him again later when we talk about maybe any characters that you like that were not main cast. So yeah, and then Jimmy Olsen, like someone mentioned Jimmy Olsen gets killed right off the bat.
Well, and so it's not, again, this is the funny thing, right? Is that in the theatrical edition, it was no real mention of his name being Jimmy Olsen. It wasn't discovered until afterwards. I remember the controversy when Snyder came out after that movie. He's like, oh yeah, that was Jimmy Olsen. There was no context. People didn't realize, like, wait, what? This guy was Jimmy Olsen. He's a CIA agent. But in the Ultimate Edition, it actually flushes that out a little bit more. He says, I'm Jimmy Olsen, this and that. Again, Zack Snyder, for whatever reason.
There's like an extra couple seconds of his intro to Lois, which is kind of odd.
But I think it's actually good, though. I feel like the Ultimate Edition fills in a lot of the missing pieces of this movie.
We'll get. I guess towards the end, we'll get to, like, was it worth this extended cut? But I think overall, yes, you're right. It did fill in lots of parts of the story. So he gets framed for that, and then they cut to, I think, Congress hearings immediately after that, which does feature another one of the new extended cuts, which is the woman whose family was supposedly killed in this series of events. So I think Scott did ask why they burned the bodies. I think it was just to make it look like Superman heat visioned everybody, which makes a hell of more sense than a bunch of guys with 9mm bullets in them and stuff like that. I don't remember what comes directly after that. Do we have Lex Luthor introduced after that point?
Yeah, so then it gets to Luthor has
we have Superman jumping into the bathtub with Lois. Is that after that, or is that after Lex Luthor?
Yeah, no, maybe you're right. Yeah, he jumps into the bathtub with Lois. He brings home a bunch of groceries. She's upset. She's kind of upset that he kind of saved her, and now he's being brought up on potential charges in a congressional hearing. So it's funny because it's so hard to discuss these scenes without.
I think we'll just have to go. Like, I don't think we can do a summary. I don't think it's gonna matter if we do a recap in order, because like I said, this film is all over the place.
See, I don't know about that, because okay, when we talked about it last week, Zack Snyder said he wanted to ground Superman in as much reality as possible. And how when we talked about Superman walking down, being handcuffed and this and that, like, we understood the idea behind it. So let's put ourselves in the situation of, if there was a Superman in real life and we're still following the events of Man of Steel, and I don't mean to be disparaging to any of our American viewers or listeners, but it is very likely, both conceivable, plausible, and probable, that the U.S. would all of a sudden start holding hearings on Superman to try to reel him in, to control him, and have him bend to their rule of law. That makes a lot of sense to me based on how the U.S. are. So I think that that's not an unrealistic portrayal of what's happening.
Yeah, no, and I think this is the thing they probably should have stuck to with the movie. I think another one of the extended cuts is when they have a whole bunch of the scientists and stuff like that debating, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, or I don't remember what I always forget what his name is.
deGrasse, yes, deGrasse.
Yeah,
Junior High.
Yeah. He has like a whole like speech about, like, what does this set the president, all this kind of stuff like that. So I think that, and then one of my favorite scenes is actually when Superman goes and saves the girl from the burning building. So actually, let's get into our favorite scenes, folks. So definitely, let's go to favorite scenes first. We've abandoned our recap because it's going to get ridiculous. So let's go over favorite scenes, and then we'll jump to the Superman versus Batman fight. And then maybe we'll talk about. Then we'll dive into the criticisms, because I think that's going to be a little bit more crazy. So one of my favorite scenes is when Superman saves that girl from the burning building, and then he comes down, and they're reaching out to him in almost like a Jesus kind of like thing, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. He's like, I didn't sign up for this, you know. I think that's one of my favorite. Yeah. I feel like that's one of my favorite aspects of this movie, that they could have went in that direction instead of throwing the entire deck of cards into the mix and trying to just create like the ultimate poker hand or something like that. I don't know.
But did you find though that there was a lot of criticism about that this portrayal of Superman was he was moody, he was morose, he was kind of sullen and sad. But given the context of the congressional hearings and there's that scene where Clark is sitting and he's listening to the talking heads. Specifically, it was the Charlie Rose interview with Holly Hunter's congresswoman or senator, and he's like, well, what are you saying if you have a child who is in need of help that they're, they shouldn't be? And she, Superman, she goes, no, but we need to have rules and laws. And he's like, well, are you saying we shouldn't have a Superman? She goes, I'm not saying that we should or we shouldn't, but the fact is we do. And he's sitting there and he's really contemplating this weight is that I'm here to help, and yet you guys are questioning everything that I'm doing. So then when you go to your scene that you just mentioned, and he saves those people and they're reaching out to him like a god, like a deity. And do you think that it warrants the tone of his mood throughout the movie?
I think he really, I think he really would have been torn. Although it would be nicer to get a more upbeat Superman movie, but they've already set the tone with Man of Steel, so I feel like they kind of had to continue. Well, you know what? Actually, they ended on a higher note with Man of Steel, him taking down the drone, and it kind of like lightening up a lot. So maybe but I think the debate is there. Like, what do you do with a Superman? Like, how do you control him? Like, what if he just decides to start doing his own thing? What if he does jump in and save, say, Lois Lane in this territory that is deemed as conflicted, or I don't know what the terminology for that would be. And I asked everyone to start dropping their favorite scenes, and they're all dropping criticisms. So
I agree, Scott. I agree. It's when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, Charlie Rose, that didn't end well. That was a major criticism. This movie is it's a bag full of stuff. Like, they threw everything in this movie, and I think it actually did a bit of a disservice to it, because I think if you pair out a lot of the periphery, this movie does answer some interesting questions. I mean, Batman's entire motivation is somewhat based on xenophobia, right? Like, he's afraid of this person. He doesn't want, it's too much power. He wants to eliminate him. That's really kind of what the whole thing is based on. He's doing it. Batman is almost like Thanos. I'm going to take him down and kill him for the greater good of the world. And it's like, that seems to be somewhat antithetical as well to Batman, who
it's actually kind of crazy.
Was not,
because Alfred kind of disagrees with him. He's like, this guy is not our enemy. So it's kind of like, man, Alfred really had it. So Scott, sorry. See, look, I called someone Scott already. So Gordon, AKA Scott, said he liked the Batman warehouse scene. He said it was epic. Since everyone's throwing out stuff that they disliked about the movie, we're going to get to that, folks.
Yeah, no, Gordon, I actually quite enjoyed, John and I were talking about that warehouse scene before we started.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Batman. I did have like a little something put together. So this warehouse scene is pretty epic. Generally perceived as probably one of the best parts of the movie. Everyone, even just one of the best Batman fights that people liked. I do like what they were doing in the Nolan stuff with the close combat KCism, like all the kind of realer martial arts. Yeah, but this works more as a comic book fighting Batman. So Ben Affleck supposedly gained an additional 20 pounds of muscle for this role, and cut down to 8% body fat. Like that sounds kind of ridiculous. Hopefully, Gordon or Sarah can help me out with this stuff here. So his workout, according to the montage for him to fight Superman, which was actually, I think it was pretty cool because it made it feel more like a real world workout. So instead of him doing like machines and Rocky IV type stuff, he goes
around with like Dr. Ho 10 pads and just
He wasn't like using technology, or it was, but he was doing kind of like almost like a cross. They called it. The joke was he was like kind of CrossFit Batman. So his workout consisted of the sledgehammer on the tire,
Yep.
Which is, real world muscles. And then he did weighted pull-ups, which, pull-ups are like one of the ultimate workout show off moves. No salmon ladder, because I guess Stephen Amell was like, no, I've got that copyright.
Yeah, he's like, here, hold my beer.
That's my thing. So he was like, okay, I'm going to do weighted pull-ups with at least 2 to 3 plates. And then he does, I think it's called a sleigh push. He's got like almost like this thing, and it's got just a pile of weights, and on top of the weights is a pile of chains. So they really wanted to sell that. And then he had like a weird kind of tire, pulling a tire on a rope. So it's reusing that tire. So I don't know if it's a tire left over from the Batmobile. And then he finishes off with free weights, and then he's also got some weird type of single shoulder squat going on, which looks pretty hardcore. He kind of like chucks the thing off his shoulder, and then he basically, at the end of the montage, it shows that he's doing everything to exhaustion. So I feel like whoever was training or consulting for this thing was like, how would we make Batman as real as possible? So I don't know if Ben Affleck actually did these workouts to achieve that Batman body, but I thought that was really something a little different.
No, I agree. I like the look of it. Of course he did the workouts to be able to, he wanted to be a bigger, a more broad Batman. He's got the natural physique of being broad as it is anyways. Whereas, and I'm not taking away from Christian Bale, but he's probably average he's not as broad. And so he put on a lot of muscle. So if you look at how he was in Batman Begins, it's a little bit more puffy as opposed to some of the other movies. He was a bit more lean down and more muscular. In BVS, Ben Affleck put some serious work to make it look like he was menacing, right? I mean, he that suit he's wearing, and not the Batman suit, just his normal suit. You could just see the cut on him, right? So
I think it came up one time when we were talking. Like he's like an intimidating Bruce Wayne. Like if that Bruce Wayne walked up to you and was kind of like in your face, like kind of like when him and Clark kind of go toe to toe. When Clark's confronting him, you're kind of like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. But I guess, enough of my silliness. Let's get into that fight, Rob. So you love this fight.
I do. I love this fight. First of all, I think that this is, for me, probably, and I'm a big fan of The Dark Knight, but I look at the movie The Dark Knight as a sum of its parts as opposed to one singular person. I feel that Ben Affleck's portrayal as Batman is probably the best cinematic Batman we've had, and I'm a huge Michael Keaton Batman fan. I've gone on record of saying that. But when I say that I think this is the best portrayal, is that we've never had a Batman fight on screen the way we have in this movie. This is like, we all were playing Arkham Asylum 10 years before this movie came out. We were loving how amazing it was to feel like you were Batman in that game. And this movie replicated that. It's brutal. He's throwing these goons around. He's using his the grappling gun to take the box, and he whips it over and smashes a guy in the head. He punches that one guy, and he just hammers right into the ground, and his neck snaps. Like, I mean,
there was one point where it looked like the guy's head bent backward.
Yeah,
that guy's super dead.
The choreography of this fight is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I like the suit. I wish it didn't skew so much to the Dark Knight Returns type of suit. But whatever, it's fine. I love the way the whole thing looked on him. I love the way the cape moved. I know that a lot of it was CGI, but I just really liked his figure as Batman, and how he moved with it. Scott just put in here. No, wait, Scott, where did it go? With the modulator. You're right. That was amazing to have a Batman that had a voice modulator as opposed to somebody who would grumble through his voice and likely need a lozenge at the end of the night. It makes sense to have a voice modulator when you're Batman. I think it's unreasonable to think that you're going to be constantly changing your voice. throughout the night, right? And that's why it became such a joke. Christian Bale became almost a parody of himself by the third movie because he was doing an impression of himself from the first movie. So
I didn't mind the Christian Bale voice, but so we got a bunch of good ones from Gordon. What was your favorite part of the fight? Do you like Gordon mentions the WWE power bomb, or it looked kind of like almost like a rock bottom as well? And earlier you mentioned to me how he got shot in the back of the head. Gordon mentions that scene as well.
Well, so what's funny about that
is
that the extended edition, so in the regular theatrical edition, he's on top of a guy and he's just laying haymakers down. The theatrical edition, he gets 2 punches in. And in the extended edition, I think it's 3, maybe 4 punches before he gets shot in the back of the head. But everybody, if we remember last year when the trailer for the new Batman movie came out, and Robert Pattinson, he takes that guy and he just starts dropping bombs on him, 5 or 6 bombs. You're like, oh my God, Batman wouldn't do it. Yeah, he did it 4 years ago in this movie, and that's amazing. I was all for it. So I'm a big
so I guess you like the ground pound, I guess we would call that. Gordon, I don't know if you can pick a favorite one, but he does mention my favorite one. So he says he mentions the stabbing as well as snapping a guy's arm in half. One of my favorite scenes is when he gets stabbed right in the shoulder. And then he pulls a knife out, chases the guy down, and stabs him back in the same spot. It's kind of like eye for an eye, or you reap what you sow. So this guy can get stabbed into you. So I thought that was it was a good bit of comedy as well as a freaking nasty ass move that I feel like Batman in a street fight would pull off.
So that scene where he throws the guy into the wall, he grabs him and he just throws him right into the wall, and the guy's sideways and he's smashed. I mean, just that whole sequence, amazing. I will say though, the extended edition, the Ultimate Edition, is a bit longer, so it's a bit more brutal, and yet than the theatrical edition. Yet I think I prefer the theatrical edition because I feel like it moves more fluid. So
I think it was tighter, and it would have been neat to see more of something like this, like giving Batman, like this is where he would excel, right? Later on, I think I forgot who mentioned it in the chat. Later on, he gets into the mix with Doomsday, and he's about to get annihilated, and he just kind of puts his hand up. It's kind of like, would Batman do that? Like, and I'll have to scroll back up and find out who said that. But it's like, would Batman be like, "Oh, that's over," right? Or would he think of something else, right? Or I feel like he wouldn't even be in that portion of the fight until he had the proper weapons to do so. But since we're talking Batman, and no one else is dropping their favorite stuff, so I think we're gonna have a lot of like, what was the stupidest thing that happened or whatever. Can we talk a little bit about this version of Alfred?
Yes, please.
Where do you rate this on your scale of Alfreds? Because this Alfred really pulls his weight. He's wrenching on the Batmobile. He's adjusting electronics in the voice modulator. Yep. I think at one point he's making them. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, and then suddenly he's chopping wood for the fireplace or something like that. I'm like, Bruce Wayne can't get wood delivered. He's got to go get the wood and chop it for him. Or why doesn't he incorporate the wood chopping into his workout?
Right.
No, sorry, Alfred. I'm gonna beat this tire up. Can you please chop this wood to put it on in the fire? No one's going to be in this damn mansion for.
Alfred, I'm a bit chilly. Can you please put me some firewood and keep this fire burning?
So Gordon mentions Alfred, is highly overqualified and underpaid. I think at one point he mentioned something like he wants the wine cellar or something, or he hopes the next set of Waynes leaves him the wine cellar or something. And I'm like, he definitely deserves the entire empire if something goes up. But and then Lewis mentions Alfred as the backup Batman. Totally, like he was doing. I feel like he's doing more than Batman.
As Jonathan and Fraser both put in here, he flew the jet, right? He went on the
Bruce is like, you're gonna have to take over, and he's like, all right, sure.
And he drops the armrest and he pulls out listen, I thought Jeremy Irons' portrayal as Alfred was amazing. It was vastly different than the 2 Alfreds we had before. Michael Gough being in the first 4, the Batman, the Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer and George Clooney debacle, and then you had obviously Michael Caine in the Nolan trilogy, and I quite like Michael Caine in those trilogy movies. I thought he was really great, but Jeremy Irons in this role for this movie, it just seems so perfect. It seemed like such a perfect Batman, trying to be the voice of reason. I felt like he gets the shaft in Josh Whedon's Justice League, so I'm very interested to see how he's portrayed in the upcoming 4-hour.
Definitely an underutilized, and it was something in the comics where like I think it's the Earth One series where they use the concept of Alfred actually trained Batman to do all what he does, which is kind of a really neat concept. So I feel like they could have pushed this towards that envelope. Do you like this Alfred's turns good men cruel speech, or do you prefer Michael Caine's sometimes people just want to watch the world burn speech?
It's so funny you mentioned it, because I was when this speech came on, I thought about the same thing, and I felt like I understood what he was trying to say in this speech as opposed to the Michael Caine one.
you don't like the diamond the size of a tangerine.
Well,
oh, see, my accent sucks. It goes to like
Dwayne. He had a thief, and he was talking about the jewel and this and that, and he burnt the forest, and like I was like, I don't understand. Like, I thought it was a great story, but I never really understood what it meant in the moment that he was explaining that story to Bruce Wayne. I was like, why? What's the analogy for, like, why are you using this one? And it wasn't like Bruce Wayne's like, I don't understand why this guy is being this way, and he's like, because some people want to watch the world burn, but it didn't make sense at the time. So
it sounded very cool in the Michael Caine voice. So yes. If we had some good imitators, we would flip the speeches and have different people say them in different accents. So Scott does vote for Irons. We'll get back to it. He does mention Alfred and Wonder Woman are the best in this movie. So very, very fetch. So we want to mention
in this. Sorry, what else do you want to go on about Alfred or no?
I actually quite like this version of Alfred.
You do,
yeah. I feel like I do like him better than.
He doesn't seem like an old guy, right? Like, I mean, Jeremy Irons is old, but he doesn't seem as old as the past. Like Michael Caine, is all due respect to the guy, he looks like he was like 85, 88 years old, right? Like he's an older Alfred. So this version of Alfred he only seemed to be about 25 years older than Bruce Wayne, like I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah, it was nice, and they could have leaned more towards that. So I guess, do you have any other favorite scenes you want to bring up, Rob, before we let people or do you want to get into the Batman Superman fight?
Yeah, we can get into that. And I'll have a summary at the end of why I think this movie deserves a lot more credit than I think it's given. So make sure I say that. But I think the important part about this cut also is that it filled in the blank of Lois trying to investigate that bullet that she found in her notebook. So there's a lot of backstory with respect to how she investigates that, including they cut out completely. Jenna Malone had been cast in this. A lot of people thought she was going to be Barbara Gordon or Batgirl. She ends up just being a scientist, though, who essentially studies this bullet and says, this is not like your average. This is not a normal bullet. This is like high tech, shit that you don't normally find out there. And I thought it was important to show the breadcrumbs that Lois goes for to track down the mystery that this is Luthor is behind this whole entire thing.
Yeah,
and that scene, I felt like the theatrical movie was just it's very difficult to string the thread along. This is a narrative.
Well, especially since Lex Luthor's plan is like, I don't know how you would describe his plan. If you could actually pinpoint exactly what his overall scheme was, I'd be very impressed. But that girl did do a good job adding that little role to it. So it kind of sucks that they added so many characters, and some of those characters that did shine like that got completely cut or they couldn't be used more because this film is so bloated with so many characters and appearances. And we'll get to that when we start looking at the criticisms. Someone did mention they like where is it? Sorry, they like the nod to Jason Todd. So the statue, I think that's a statue with the spray paint. That had a lot of wild fan theories going on with it.
Right, but just so you know, it's not Jason Todd. Zack Snyder has come out and said that's not meant to be Jason Todd's costume.
Yeah.
So this is one of the problems I do have about this movie is that there is just so much trying to be pushed and crammed into this movie to make it like, we've talked about how Iron Man 2 is really they put everything in plus the kitchen sink to set up the next bunch of movies. And I felt like they did that with this movie, including the nightmare scene, right? Which I'm a big fan of the nightmare scene, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense why it's put in there. Like it really doesn't.
Why does it have time as opposed to some of these other elements? And especially someone as a new viewer or someone who's not has the knowledge base that you or I might have was probably like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, so like, and then especially with the Flash coming out of that area, and he's got this futuristic tech suit on. Like, there's a lot of things in here that I feel that were set up for what was supposed to be a 2-part Justice League movie or trilogy that Snyder had planned. And I think it does this specific movie a disservice, because I think if you get rid of that nightmare scene, I think if you get rid of them introducing, like, how did Luthor figure out the other metahumans and then gave them their symbols? Like, get rid of all that stuff.
Yeah. So we haven't. So let's dive into some of the criticisms.
Okay, sorry.
Since we're already going there, but Rob, you brought it up, like that whole thing. We haven't really talked about it at all. That the rest of the Justice League does appear: Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, and even Wonder Woman, with barely any lines. They get crammed into this movie, and I feel like at the time. So when I post that other video, if you go back, one of my thoughts was they wanted to just get all these pieces on the board. And I think they knew that this movie was going to come off messy, and they probably should have stuck with it and let Snyder really kind of do his whole Justice League thing. So that's why it's going to be interesting to see this full cut. But it feels like they just want to throw everything on the board and get all these guys in place, and then play catch up as fast as they could to Marvel, because they don't have time to establish each of those Justice League members with their own movie. So they were like, hey, we got kind of like half a movie. Superman didn't do as well as we thought it would, so we're not going to do a full out Superman 2. Let's cram Batman in there and all these guys. So I don't know if
I have no problem with their introduction of Diana, because I think that she does serve a bit of a purpose. But I agree. There's no need to have Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman in there. There's no need for Luthor to, like, I really honestly truly think if this movie was about Batman seeking vengeance against Superman for what happened, that he's the only person that can stop this alien. He doesn't understand what's going on. And Superman is coming to grips with this morality issue that I'm trying to do what's right and save people, and I'm here not for my own selfish needs, but for everybody else. And the U.S. again is trying to control him. If you have all this, and Luthor is the main bad guy, and he's got some plot to try to pit the two of them together, I can see that working as a movie in and of itself. But you're right, to throw all this extra, you do a disservice to this movie, because there's a lot of really good moments in this movie that you can grab and say, oh my God, I just wish they expanded on that a little bit. Like, why do we need to introduce Doomsday? Why do we need to let Lex have control of the ship? How is he able to override Kryptonian technology? Like, because it was trying to serve a greater purpose for what Snyder was trying to do overall, but you sacrifice what would have been a really, really good follow-up to Man of Steel. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I think if you're introducing Batman to the Snyder world, the DCEU, through this method, then that's your goal. Your goal isn't to introduce everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. So I forgot we didn't talk about Wonder Woman. So Gordon makes a good point. That she was one of the only ones that held off Doomsday when Wonder Woman drops down. So we're rewatching this now, and we know all these things that Wonder Woman comes to be a part of. But at the time when Wonder Woman drops into the Doomsday fight,
Yeah.
that was a hell of a moment. Even though the rest of her parts are so minimized, I feel. Even her like walking around, I think she steals the data before Bruce Wayne steals it, and then I think she fails to decrypt it, so gives it back to him, and then she sends him the picture back. So it's very
and
muddy.
I just want to like so Gordon is saying a bit of a purpose. The reason I'm saying a bit of a purpose is strictly because I'm when I say that, I guess I should have been more clear. I meant that in the context of if we didn't have the Doomsday stuff. Like what I'm saying is if you got rid of that periphery and you had introduced Wonder Woman, then she does serve a bit of a purpose for a movie that it should have been, not with what we got. So yes, she completely does. Like that scene, and Gordon mentions it in the comments, and he's right. And this is what you were referring to earlier, John. He's in the down bat plane or Batwing. Doomsday's about to like blast him with nuclear energy. He puts his hand up. He says, "Oh shit!" Puts his hand up, and then all of a sudden he blasts, and you see something landing and blocking that shot. And your mind automatically thinks it's Superman, and then all of a sudden the glow goes away, and it's Wonder Woman with her shield, and
the music kicks in.
God. Yes,
the music, which has more impact now because we know it's her theme.
Yeah, and so everybody, not one person I've ever spoken to disliked the introduction of Wonder Woman in that scene. I remember being at the theater; people were clapping and cheering when she landed. And did that stuff. When she's fighting Doomsday, she's got this smile on her face. Like she loves this combat. Like even though she's getting her shit handed to her at times and thrown around, she gets up and she got like a small little smirk as she just jumps off.
If she had that spear, she could have done it on her own. If she had the kryptonite spear, I think at one point she cuts his Achilles tendon or something, and then like severs his hand and all that stuff. It's a very actually well choreographed.
She severs his hand that causes him to grow the bone that kills Superman. So it's all Wonder Woman's fault.
He should have given her the spear. If anyone he should have grabbed the lasso and held Doomsday down and given her the spear, and she could have finished the job without Superman dying.
But again, we've mentioned the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel. But again, there's another scene. Superman is taking Doomsday up into space. The president decides to launch a nuclear missile at them, and it hits on the outer atmosphere of the planet. Doomsday comes crashing down, and Superman is out in space, gaunt, gray, shriveled up, much like you saw in the graphic novel. And then it's not until the sun, peeks around the Western Hemisphere that he gets his power start to come back to him. I'm all for a little bit for fan service, but I think that this movie they threw too many Easter eggs in there for, It
was funny. Instantly after they hit him with the nuke, the news reports start going, Doomsday is unkillable. I'm like, they got to that conclusion very quickly. And even when they're reporting on the bomb that blows up and Superman's there, they all of a sudden start like the really weak ass story of for some reason Superman is behind this bombing.
Yeah, I didn't
working in affiliation with this bomb. And I was like, what the hell is going on with reporting in this movie?
Speaking of Superman and bombing, what about that scene at the Capitol, right? Where he's sitting there in the Capitol and Holly Hunter is giving her speech and she gets distracted by Grandma's peach tea and then realizes and the whole thing explodes. I mean, Scoot McNairy is in the wheelchair. The whole thing explodes and you just see Superman is stuck in the middle. And you could tell like he knew he was going to be blamed for this. And I felt that on his face, the emotion of it. But then when he was rescuing the people, he sure was moving.
Yes, that's an extended scene. Yeah, that is an extended thing. I don't think that's in the original cut where he goes around saving the people. So the reporting really doesn't make sense that he was like that. They're like Superman is like behind the bombing or like part of the bombing, or he allowed the bombing to happen. It seems it's like so thin. It's so thin, exactly like reporting Doomsday is unkillable right after, immediately after he gets hit with a nuke. Oh no, he's unkillable.
Yeah.
run it, run it, print it.
Anderson Cooper is there saying, well, good thing that everybody's off work. The downtown core is empty. I used to work downtown Toronto. The day ended. People were still hanging out downtown. I've never seen a downtown metropolitan area all of a sudden become a ghost town after the workday ended. There's a lot of cameos. You mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson, not Degrassi. Anderson Cooper. The worst one, by far, Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, who is still at the moment of his Daily Show existence, is in this show, and he is not funny at all. His delivery lines were atrocious. You see him on the television. The cooks are in the basement watching, and I was like, what the hell is the point of ever including this fucking guy? It was atrocious.
Oh man. Okay, I guess we got to keep it moving because we're already at an hour. So do we want to? I guess there's no more favorites. So I don't know if we want to address some of the criticisms. I don't know if we have time to address some of the criticisms.
Well, the fight scene between Batman and Superman, I liked it. Did you not like it?
It was a little crazy. I was actually going to try and break it down blow for blow and have like a UFC type of like punches landed, but it's very one-sided. Especially at the beginning, Batman just goes to town Superman with his kryptonite explosions, and then he does some funny moves of like wrapping the he picks him up to do like a razor's edge on him down the stairs. I'm like, if he did the razor's edge, I would have been very impressed. And then he drops down, and then he ties his feet to a rope and like swings them around.
That was quite interesting the way he was able to just start throwing them around like that, right? Because what do you think Superman weighs?
I think Henry Cavill weighed about 220 or something along those lines.
Okay, so then
which is very impressive because he's a tall guy, right?
Right, but then you add in his molecular density, even though he had kryptonite, it as a heavy fool to be all of a sudden be picked up, despite the fact that you've got a suit of armor with like servos and everything else helping you out.
So they made a good Scott likes when the kryptonite wears off and Superman's kind of like ha ha ha. And Gordon makes a good point of the fight shows that Superman doesn't know how to fight. So once his powers are gone, it seems he cannot throw any type of combination or jujitsu move of any kind.
He did a little bit better than in Man of Steel, though. He did a couple of the moves that Feora had done on him at the IHOP in the Man of Steel. He did try to do those moves on Batman, so at least he's trying to learn.
Yeah, he's got to take some classes after work or something before hopping in the bathtub fully clothed. He should probably hit the gym for a little bit, or the mats. You should hit the mats, is what they call it.
Yeah.
So that's going to lead right into the biggest issue with this movie, which is the Martha thing. So we opened up do we open up and say that we thought this was kind of clever, like we didn't see this?
I had never.
Was that off camera?
No, we did that. It started of this show. I said, all the comics I read as a kid, all the amount of origin stories I read over and over and over again, it never occurred to me until this movie that both of their moms had the same name. I was floored. I don't know why. It was like daylight. I was like, what is this? I had no clue.
So quickly before Fraser says Superman need to hit a Tybo class, or definitely call up Billy Blanks and get that kick it like Tybo if you want to Akon it. So we there's no defending this, Rob. So I know you're a huge fanboy, but there's no defending on how cheesy this came off in the movie. The whole Martha thing. Is there a way, like if anyone in the comments, is there a way that they could have actually used this particular Martha thing? Maybe just the delivery of the line, maybe he just should say save Martha Kent, but Batman doesn't hear the end part. Or
what can I ask? What would the first of all, Batman doesn't know who Martha is. Nobody would know. Wouldn't you say save my mom? Like, wouldn't you?
Or save or description. Save the whatever aged woman weighing about whatever with the gray hair, being held captive. But maybe that's too much of a mouthful. Maybe you're getting your ass kicked,
my mom.
and all you can say is save Martha. And does he call Martha, or does he call her mom when he talks to her? So it's like almost like save my mom, and maybe Lois runs in and goes, his mom, Martha Kent, she's unaware, and then Martha just triggers in his memory or something. Like I think it's a neat concept that these names matched up and no one seemed to realize it. But there's my daughter running around
here. No, I agree. I think that exactly what you said would have been the best way to do it, right? Is for Lois runs in, for her to say his mom, Martha Kent's being held hostage. She's like, Martha, like that, like then that's how they should have done it. Don't forget though, in the prior movie, when Zod and everybody are terrorizing Martha Kent on the farm, when Superman flies in and he grabs Zod and he's like, "You will not hurt my mom," and he's like, so he does. He's already preemptively he calls her mom to other people, so it makes no sense why he used this moment to call her Martha.
Yeah. So Comic Craig makes a good point. Welcome, Comic Book Craig. Thanks for joining us. I know the time difference screws everything up. So thank you for tuning in. And he says, he liked the Martha scene. And he said that Superman knows who Bruce Wayne is, and maybe knows his mother's name was Martha, and was using it as a tactic or an intentional distraction, but I don't think so.
No,
sorry, Craig.
Craig. And I'll tell you why is because at the party scene, he asked this other photographer, "Who's that?" And the guy's like, "Oh, you must be new to the entertainment." Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, everyone makes fun of Clark Kent as like worst reporter ever. Who's that guy? He's only the most rich guy in Gotham.
Yeah, like how would it be like you going to a party and like seeing Jeff Bezos, and like you would know who he is, even though you don't know him. You were like, "Oh, that's Jeff Bezos." Like, and you're not a reporter, John. So, like, I think it's kind of absurd. So I don't actually buy that he knew Bruce's mom's name was Martha. There's no connective thread to show that he's doing research on Bruce Wayne. Now, had the Ultimate Edition had that, if there was something that showed that he was doing research on Bruce Wayne, then yes, I completely agree with what Craig's point would have been. Then it would have made sense. But unfortunately, it's not there. That's purely conjecture and wishful thinking on Craig's part. It's. I like what you just wrote a better scene.
Yeah, and we can get into any number like bringing. I think bringing Lois would have been key because he takes off. It's like, I got to get this guy to help me, and there's so many questions you could ask with that. How does Batman know Superman's going to meet him there? Like, how does Superman know it? Like this, like he's just waiting there on a rooftop that's already set up with like all these traps and things like that.
Yeah. So now Craig coming back and he's like, he knows it's Bruce when you're right, because during that whole entire scene at the party, he picks up Alfred talking to Bruce through his earpiece. But this still doesn't explain, like there is absolutely no scene that it ever shows that Clark Kent has got a Bruce Wayne dossier and is learning all about who this person is. It makes sense that he would have figured it out, that he would have had that, but he never did. So we can only go with based in the movie. Oh, you're on mute.
My kids are going crazy, so I don't want too much of it getting in there. So I don't know if there's any other major criticisms we want to hit. We've kind of touched on a little bit of everything, and I feel like we can go all night with things that we can pick apart of this movie, because I feel like it was I don't know if it was rushed or they just had too much ground to cover and too little time. But it didn't get everything on the board, so I'll give it props for that. Everybody was in play for Justice League to be a success, possibly.
So I listen, at the end of the day, John, if I'm going to sit down and watch this movie, I will always pick the Ultimate Edition over the theatrical. I feel like the Ultimate Edition fills in a lot of the narrative that is missing. I feel that
the narrative. Oh, you know what? We have to talk a little bit about Lex Luthor. He's been in the chat.
Sure.
Me and Lewis had a discussion about him. I remember at the time that it happened, I kind of didn't mind that he was going somewhere different, but upon this rewatch, it is really the wrong direction for him to have gone with a portrayal of Lex Luthor. So I don't know if you feel that this performance is okay in your books, or if this was changed to a different, more confident, established, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit bigger, kind of more formidable, traditional Lex Luthor that you see in the animated series, which has popped up a lot.
I had no problem with the casting of Jesse Eisenberg. It was definitely outside the box, and the idea when they originally cast him was that they wanted somebody who was more tech savvy, more internet set, like more youthful, who's more in the know, who could discover things. And so I understood the reasoning and rationale behind it. But I found his portrayal as if he was trying to show that he had some type of like he was on the spectrum, like some type of autism, maybe. Like I just felt like his, especially that speech he was giving at his party, he seemed to get really upset with himself and the way he was talking to himself, and he does a lot of things with his fingers. And I don't know if that was a conscious decision that he was trying.
I think he could have sold this out as a different character, but not Lex Luthor. He could have been. Yeah. They could have made up a mad scientist type character. Jonathan Yo points out something funny. He was like, "Why does he have the egg timer?" Which I did find very funny. So Lex has this crappy kitchen egg timer, and KG Beast, when he's holding Martha hostage, has this high tech, very stylish digital clock. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But I guess so he could make it go ding, at the end for that punchline. But it didn't work out, and I don't know why he assumed that Superman and Batman weren't going to be able to figure this out.
I'm not, looking back, I'm not a fan. I like obviously Steppenwolf. There's that scene in the extended edition where Steppenwolf and Luthor are obviously having some type of a conversation.
Stephen Wolf.
Yes. John and Stephen D. Wolf.
I think that's part of the extended features too, that they pan and you see him talking to Stephen Wolf.
Yeah, and so at the end, when he's screaming that the bells have been rung, they know that the god is dead. It makes sense because you see that in the Ultimate Edition, in the theatrical. You're like, why is he acting like a lunatic? It makes a little bit of sense that but as an overall, I just feel like it was so inconsistent, his portrayal. But yeah,
okay. So is this your least favorite portrayal of Lex Luthor? So Fraser says Kevin Spacey was a better Lex, which I remember in that trailer, was hilarious. When he just like yelled, it was very, I guess, throwback to Gene Hackman or whatever.
Yes, it was.
I forgot what it is. He's like, no, like I forget what he yells. It's like a funny moment
tonight, like that.
Yeah. He does.
Down I don't know if it's it's the worst. I mean, listen, so we had Gene I'm not going to count the animated series. So you got Gene Hackman. Mm-hmm. You had Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville.
For me, I feel like it is Michael Rosenbaum. I think he really sold the cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with
Lex Luthor, and he didn't really get to turn to the bad side as far as like because they always kind of wanted to straddle that line of like, oh, he's kind of a bad guy, but he's still Clark's friend.
Maniacal though, like he was always something in the back, right? Like you always knew he had something up his sleeve. And so I would totally agree. I think Michael Rosenbaum was probably the best portrayal of Lex Luthor. Sorry, John Cryer fans with Supergirl. I hear his portrayal is quite good. People really like him as Lex Luthor, but
yeah, they had a back and forth on Twitter, Rosenbaum and Cryer, which is pretty funny.
I enjoyed Rosenbaum's impression.
Yeah. Rosenbaum is he probably could play it now. Like if you listen to his podcast, he seems like a pretty cool dude. So they should bring him back. But I don't know. Maybe they can turn it around. Maybe they switch it up like they did with Jared Leto. For Joker, but is Lex Luthor in this new Snyder Cut at all?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
All right. So,
so I know we're gonna wrap it up. I just wanted to say one thing is that I'm a big James Bond fan, and we had a lot of discussion about how Quantum of Solace as a movie is one of the worst James Bond movies. I like it, but people have said, but if you look at that, if you were to actually finish Casino Royale and go right into Quantum of Solace, it's one big giant movie. And I actually feel that looking at this movie now, if this, when it leads right into the Justice League that we're getting, I feel like it's going to be one giant movie. And I feel that a lot of the decisions that were made and that you will see in this movie, I think will have a payoff in Snyder's version of Justice League. Because it really does feel like, as I'm watching it and we've seen these trailers, it's very like, we didn't get to talk about like the color choices, and the filming choices that Snyder made, but it looks like it's very seamless integration. So
yeah.
kind of hopeful that the Snyder cut will almost elevate what this movie is, because I feel like it's we said it before throughout this show, it straddles almost two different movies.
It's kind of half baked, and I just want to I want to address two things in the comments quickly because people are doing it. The Jolly Rancher Lex Luthor scene, a lot of people are shouting that out. I thought that was awkward as hell in the movie theater as well too. People are like, "Oh, he's demonstrating his power or whatever." I thought it was just a weird product placement.
But I would not have been. I don't care if you're like the most richest person. If you're shoving a Jolly Rancher in my mouth, I'm gonna smack your hand away, man.
So it was an interesting mental power play. And then the other thing people quickly mention is the lead wheelchair, which was kind of funny. I don't know if they revealed that in the regular cut of the movie, that the chair has lead. That's why Superman didn't see it. But some of the people are saying, why didn't he go and, hey, why is there a wheelchair lined with lead all of a sudden
I don't think it
in
was.
this courtroom?
I don't think it was. I think that was the intent, is that when you're watching it, but when Superman, when she says, but you couldn't have seen it, and he goes, but I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah. Because she finds out it was, in fact, lined with lead.
Oh, does she? Okay.
Yeah. One of the later scenes. So she goes to the guy's house and opens the fridge, and he's got brand new groceries.
Right. Okay.
And then she finds out that the wheelchair was lined with lead. Okay. So that's why he didn't see it. But I think it's actually much better to think that he didn't even bother to look for it.
Yeah, he says, I just never thought to look. X-ray vision is not always on. It's like turning on a light switch. He has to turn it on and off, right? So he just never thought to look for it, which I don't think is wrong. I'm like, it doesn't bother me. So at the end of the day, John, you watched this a number of years ago. You said you did a review of this on an earlier podcast.
Yeah, so I guess to wrap up things, if anyone wants to get anything else in the comments, do it now and we'll cover it. Remember, there's about a 10-second
lost
delay.
all the ladies.
Yeah, they checked out. And I actually thought this might happen because I was kind of excited to rewatch this. And then when I got into rewatching it, I realized it is a mess. So originally when I reviewed it, I remember thinking it was all right. And now upon the rewatch, I think it's too much of a mess.
Wow.
That I would not recommend it right now for people to watch. It's got moments that are fun to see and stuff, but overall, like I'll mention the Batmobile is really cool, and the Batman fight and stuff like that. But overall, it's a little too messy. And so we've already talked about Man of Steel being the top of the list now. So based off of memory, I feel like Justice League Josh Whedon cut is actually going to slide under that. And this Batman v Superman is going to be in the bottom. And hopefully Snyder Cut is going to somehow snake the top. But I was actually surprised. I thought it was going to go in order of the movie. So it was going to be Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and then the Josh Whedon cut. And then the Snyder Cut is the new mystery.
That's how I rank it. I actually rank this movie above the Whedon's Justice League. I actually find more, as much as there are a lot in this movie that drive me crazy, the Batmobile scene in the dock, especially when it slow-mo slides into the boat and is underneath the bow of the boat, it's all CGI. Like, I hate that. Like, I'd rather just give me a practical. You've built a practical Batmobile. Make it practical. I don't need the CGI shit, right? So as much as there's a lot to not like about this, the whole Doomsday thing and this and that, I actually prefer this movie over, from my memory at least, of Whedon's Justice League. Right now, I'm ranking it as we have to rank it as number 2 until we watch Whedon's Justice League for next week. To really make
so guessing from memory, I will put the Justice League Josh Whedon cut, but we'll see next week. I'll be like, okay, no, I was wrong. Yep, it goes Superman, Batman versus Superman, and Josh Whedon, and hopefully the Snyder Cut's going to blow everything out of the water. So in general, it looks like the chat. So we've got Michelle's opinion already. She disliked the film so much that she had nothing to say in this chat, which I had a feeling that this might happen. So everyone in the comments, quickly get at us with whether you feel that this movie, where it ranks, or if you just hated it, or if you love it. Comic Book Craig seems to quite like it.
Yeah, Comic Book Craig is an ardent proponent of this movie, and following his
and it's fair enough, Craig.
Yeah.
Like, I assume your name is Craig, because Comic Book Craig is hard for me to say every single time. I'm going to butcher it eventually, or I'm eventually going to call you.
Hard for him.
or I'm eventually going to call you Scott. So shout out to Scott, my guy. So I'm saying from my memory, I feel like it might land there, but upon the rewatch next week, I might be eating my own words and going, hey, no, it is a travesty, because I haven't seen Justice League since the theater. Batman versus Superman I haven't seen since the theater, and then watching this new cut version, so it looks like
anyways,
so I don't think we're going to be able to use fetch when we're talking about this one. Sarah does say it's a dumpster fire. What else do we got? Fraser says it falls in the middle of the three, so he's with you, Rob, right? So it's in the middle.
Yeah.
So Jonathan Yo might be on my side. I think he says there might be better scenes in the Joss Whedon Justice League. Scott says Man of Steel is his favorite, and Batman versus Superman is okay. So I guess he's waiting to do the rewatch of Joss Whedon Justice League. And shout outs to someone. Jonathan mentions Aquaman. I feel like Aquaman gets a bum rap. Where would you put Aquaman on this? Do you like Aquaman better than all these?
Well, okay. So I thought you meant like in this movie, because in this movie, this clip of him was atrocious because he's definitely holding his breath. Like, it was not a good.
He's holding his breath and he's not doing anything in particular. I make a joke during our other thing where he's on set shaking around the spear, and he's like, What do I do, guys? And they're like, you're doing it. Just keep doing it. He's like, I'm not doing anything. And they're like, yeah, don't worry. We'll figure this out.
I would have to rewatch. Well, listen, I'd have to rewatch Aquaman again. I remember thinking Aquaman was a lot of fun when I went to the theater to see it. And then when I watched it at home, I found I was really tired watching it. I was like, what is happening? So, but I've seen this movie. In all honesty, John, I've seen Batman versus Superman maybe 7 times now, 7 or 8 times. I went to the theater twice to see it.
Someone do the math. 7. How many of those were the unrated cut, and how many was those the regular cut? Because this unrated cut is 3 hours long.
Right. So when this came out on Blu-ray, though, it came out, the extended edition came out as well as the regular edition. So I've watched this 4 times, the unrated, the unlimited edition. 3 times because I watched it once in 3D. So I've 3 and 3. So I've watched it 9 hours is what you're asking. 9 hours and 6 minutes has been spent to the Ultimate Edition. A total of 15 hours and 47 minutes has been spent watching this movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I would have to really debate if Aquaman tops all of these for me. Because Man of Steel, I did quite enjoy that, except for the last half does fall apart quite a bit. I think Michelle agreed with me that entire third act of Man of Steel is right. So Aquaman, at least I feel like it keeps its consistent speed.
Yeah, I would say that. Sorry, Craig, you're gonna have to go back when this uploads. We actually did talk about this. Not a fan of the Flash time travel in this movie. It makes 0 sense, and hopefully the Snyder Cut will actually make it make sense, because it doesn't really add anything to this movie. So listen, at the end of the day, John, I'm a fan of this movie. I obviously prefer Man of Steel. I would watch Man of Steel over this movie. If you want to hit me up in the comments after we're off, please. I can go on about the color choices. I don't really understand some of the thematic choices that Snyder made. The color palettes seem to be all off. It doesn't. It's very dark. It doesn't need to be. So whatever. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the movie we got. It may not be the one we deserve, John, but it was the one that we got.
All right, so quickly before we go, who is your MVP in this movie? Is it the Ben Affleck Batman? I feel like for me, it's almost Alfred. I really liked Alfred in this, and I feel like he's very underutilized.
He's more utilized in the Ultimate Edition. I agree with you, though. The MVP for this would probably be Alfred. His character, his portrayal, that is awesome. But I'm a big fan of Ben Affleck's Batman. Yeah. In all honesty, and I said this before, I would rather this had been a straight Batman versus Superman without all the extra shit. Like that would be a much more enjoyable movie.
They would have had more time or runway to build up what exactly happens and things like that without all these other things. I almost feel like originally I was going to say, what if you remove Batman from this movie? Can you make it work? But he's one of the Michelle starts out the jar of piss. Yeah. Granny's, what is it? Granny's apple cider?
Granny's peach tea.
Granny's peach tea. Oh, that's pretty good. Label some stuff in your fridge, folks, when people come over and see if they get it.
It's actually too bad because my wife bought me the Batman vs Superman cereal. There was 2 boxes. The Superman cover it was vanilla flavored, and the Batman one was chocolate flavored. And I had the boxes for and I think she told me to throw I had them. I was displaying them, and I think she told me to throw them out. And I actually I thought I might have hid them by not throwing them out, but I think that they're gone because I would have brought those out tonight for a little nostalgia. Who the hell buys Batman versus Superman cereals beyond me? But
yeah. Well, Scott shouts out Wonder Woman, so he definitely Wonder Woman. Craig, I hope you're right. He says when the films all line up, so when this Snyder Cut drops, maybe it'll all fall into place like a big kind of like
and that's kind of what I said. That's what
like a chess move where everything's set up. And I hope you're right. I really want it. Like when I was rewatching it, I bought the Blu-ray because Rob was raving about it during a lot of our older podcasts and stuff. So I bought it brand new, and I just cracked it for this, and I was really hoping that it was gonna, age very well. But for some reason, it just felt really messy to me. It started off decent, but it just started to get messy for me, and I hope the Snyder Cut fixes it.
Well, let me tell you, that investment that you made of buying this was much better than me having to pay money to buy Spawn. So just look at it that way. You've come out ahead, my friend.
Oh man, I offered. I was like, "Yo, Rob, you should probably just sit this out instead of buying a copy of Spawn because we can probably just hammer out this last podcast." But I think. Well,
yeah, I guess that's it.
I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything to be said.
No. Next week
I've covered all my notes. Other than Henry Cavill's Superman calling Lois low. I don't know if that's a new thing. Has anyone ever? Yeah, like my wife's got a 4-letter name as well, and I don't call her by 2 of the letters. It's kind of weird. That'd be like someone calling you Ro, instead of Rob. I guess Rob is already short for Robert.
Yeah,
I don't know what your legal name is.
Steppenwolf. It is. The priest at the end is overseeing Clark's funeral is the same one from Man of Steel. Is the same priest he speaks to. The same guy. I said it's funny how Holly Hunter starts off the hearing that this is how a democracy works, sir, and yet this is not democratic at all. She's essentially trying to put Superman under the control of the U.S. government. So I found the whole thing to be a little bit, very U.S.-like. Anyways, so thank you to everybody for your comments and questions. Criticisms. I enjoyed rewatching it. I hope you found some modicum of enjoyment. I think Gordon probably enjoyed watching it. I don't think Sarah did.
I think it's nice that we are rewatching these before this big event. I think that's kind of cool. I don't think I would have done that normally. I think I would have just dove into the Snyder Cut. So I hope, like Craig says, or I'll call him Scott right now, like Scott says. But I hope it does line everything up, and I can go back and rewatch these other movies and have everything all in a nice package.
So for those who haven't caught the main show that came out yesterday, it's a full 2-hour romp. We are all about WandaVision, the season finale, and our thoughts on the season overall. So if you haven't had an opportunity to listen to us talk about that, we have special guests Timbo Slice and Patrick Wong is in the show. So please give us a listen or go on our YouTube page and be able to watch that. So it's all WandaVision episode 9 plus the entire series overall. What are our thoughts? What did John and I think? Thanks to everybody who participated in watching this movie. As John said, this is the fun part. We're doing this leading up to the Snyder. Next Monday, we are back live at 8 o'clock on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And we're talking Justice League, the Joss Whedon version. And it'll be very interesting because 4 days later is when the Snyder version gets released. So I think you're going to see a huge difference in tone and in what you're looking at, even in color palettes and everything else between the two movies, obviously. So and potentially plot. I think plot-wise, it's going to be a very different movie as well. So join us next week as we watch Justice League.
Yes.
And yes, I have it in 3D.
You nerd, you're gonna watch it in 3D. I'm gonna watch the regular version. I'm not buying any more of the extended cuts because I'm not watching 3 hours of that nonsense. So this is Rob, that guy over there. He's not behind me. He's over here on this screen over here. Rob Gaudette on Twitter and Instagram. I am jho.heroesworld on Instagram. So definitely get at us. It's fun to talk with you guys. A lot of you guys messaged me while you were doing the rewatch, and it's a lot of fun to kind of be able to go back and forth with you guys with this stuff, and then do this here. So it's there's a lot of jokes. See, this Martha thing is like an issue. That's why I said there's no way that you can fight that it's good. So that's why I was saying, can you correct it and use this concept? But I think that's all we got for you today, folks. Thank you again for joining us on a Monday. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to this every week. And yeah, so we're off to the Joss Whedon cut, and then after that, Snyder cut. And then after that, oh man, there's a lot of stuff that comes out. So I don't know what we're gonna hit after that.
Well, we have to go back to our 80s, John. We have to go back to the 80s and pick up.
Yeah, man. Oh man, I don't. It's so traumatic because Sarah threw that uprising during our Running Man. So I don't know if we have to have a commemorative Predator podcast because I had all my Predator stuff ready. And I was like, we're gonna send Running Man off, and then Running Man proceeds to win the match.
Yeah, it's
and
really
Predator, but that's fine. No, I think it's great. Though. I think that's what it's all about. We kind of do this for you guys, so it's a lot of fun that you guys that happened. I think it's absolutely awesome that happened. But I don't think the same thing's gonna ever happen to Alien and some of the other movies on there. So we'll see how it goes. Any last words, Rob? Are you good?
No, I'm good. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks, Martha.